All right, folks, we are back. This is Rule of Law Radio. All right, call-in number 512-646-1984. I'll be taking your calls. First one up tonight is going to be Andrew in Texas. Andrew, what can we do for you?
Well, I just wanted to call and share briefly experience I had with using the Rule of Law material and your material to get some dismissals on transportation code violations.
Well, cool. Let them know about it.
Well, I had expired everything. You name it, it was expired. And, of course, I got pulled over. And this was prior to informing myself and taking your classes. I had been briefly introduced to your stuff when this happened. And it prompted me to go ahead and come down to Austin and take your classes and buy your course. And it has paid for itself several times over already. But essentially, I had a case that was in a municipal court. The jury found me guilty because they can't read English or understand it, apparently. And so I appealed to a higher court, which is the trial de novo, new trial. And in this county court of record, I was able to make my argument and present my motions for their denying me my right to due process for not, basically, if anyone's familiar with the show or with your work, you call out every single violation that they have brought against you, and you point out that you are not engaged in transportation, and you maintain that argument. And it typically doesn't go as well as you would like because they don't want to hear the law. They would rather say you're wrong or just dismiss any argument you like to make. But the point is to make the record. And it works, and I whittled them down. And one of the things in particular that I brought up in a motion got the judge's attention out of everything I brought up, and that was a motion that mentioned that the state or the prosecution had not filed any documentation that the officer was a certified police officer or even a licensed peace officer for that matter. And with that on the table, they decided to dismiss all of the charges. And so I just wanted to give some people some positive reinforcement, let them know that, you know, it sucks and you got to take time off work and you got to go make a whole bunch of copies of documents, but it is worth it. It's worth it to just know the information, much less exercise your right to travel and fight for it like you were talking about earlier. You do got to fight for every inch, but it feels amazing when you practice being a free person. Or not a person, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's a great feeling. It's a great thing to understand. It's an all-around positive experience to go ahead and go through this process, even if it's just for learning. Now, you do have to take a lot of time and learn the right way to do this. It would really help and make your life suck a lot less if you study and study and study. But, yes, you have the right to travel, and when they say that you don't, you prove otherwise, and it can go well. You just have to stay on it. And was there any questions or anything you wanted me to bring up to any of the audience or any information you'd like me to talk about?
Well, just whatever you think is relevant to the situation as it transpired today.
Well, I whittled them down. I mean, I had to go to court half a dozen times. And each time I went, I brought up information that the prosecuting attorney could not argue against because she was apparently unfamiliar with the law, which really helped. Obviously, when you're in front of a judge and he's at least willing to look at some of the statutes, and when the prosecution can't get anything, they have no ground to stand on, or they can't make any argument based on law, it starts to reveal that the court is now in a position where they're either going to have to make this case go away, or there's going to be a precedent set, or they're going to have to railroad you beyond. I mean, they're going to basically have to staple your mouth shut because there's really no other way to prevent you from making the record. And tie your hands behind your back, unless you can write with your feet. But just stay on it, people, and go to class and listen to the show and get with friends and go over this information, because what I found out the hard way is, well, not the hard way, but what I discovered is the best way to really get this information is to go over it over and over and over it out loud, talk to people about it, take on questions that prompt you to go do the research, and you will learn it, and you'll be able to sound like Eddie, probably not as cool, but or as confident, but you can get there. It takes some time, and it is well worth it. You know, I practice other things like open carrying and other free human activities, and they all feel great, and this is another one. And you feel like a bajillion tall foot giant when you can walk into a room full of people who went to school and paid a whole bunch of money to steal other people's money and tell them that they're criminals and prove it. It feels fantastic. So, again, everyone keep it up, and thank you, Eddie, for being patient enough to teach people, because I know it can get frustrating.
Oh, man, you don't know the half of it.
I don't even want to know the half of it. I've been in that classroom. But, yes, people go and get the material and participate, because it's probably, in my opinion, one of the most effective ways to take back some control in your life, because we have very little opportunities to fix things at the high end, at the New World Order level, at the big boy level. But when you start getting the local government around you cleaned up, you know, i.e. getting different officers to either relinquish their jobs, or however you end up getting these different public servants to start paying attention and doing their actual job, it is effective. And that's really one of the only ways that you can have a real effective means of preserving freedom.
Well, let me do my Alex Jones for a second and interrupt you there, Andrew.
Go for it.
In regards to that, folks, the thing you need to understand is that everything at the New World Order level has to use the lower levels that Andrew's talking about right now as their foundation upon which to stand.
Exactly.
If you weaken that or outright destroy it by getting rid of those that would support that upper level willingly or even unwillingly but want to be a dupe, you get rid of those people and that foundation crumbles. That foundation crumbles, the upper decks will fall. They don't have a choice. They have nothing left to stand on.
Exactly. And you almost said exactly the way I say it, but when I'm talking to people about this situation and describing how you go about doing this, the position I take, and I think is pretty easy to take once you understand this, is you have either a public servant that is willingly and knowingly violating the law and your rights, or you have a public servant who doesn't know the law. Either of those you don't want as your public servant. It's a bottom line. It's as simple as it gets. So take advantage of that opportunity to try and, like you said, break down that foundation around you of this system that's been constructed around us to steal our money, to poison us, our minds and our body, and start trying to fix it, because it isn't going to go away unless you arm yourself with knowledge and have the nuts to go out there and do it, because it's scary. It's very scary. Trust me.
It is, but it's less scary when you're better prepared.
Absolutely, and I learned that the first go around. The more you know, just like any situation, traveling, or operating firearms, or even just discussing a topic, the more you know, obviously the more confident you're going to be and the easier it's going to go. So train on all fronts. But, yes, thank you, Eddie, again, and keep taking some calls and help some people out.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in, Andrew.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.